Have you ever had an experience of being somewhere totally new and different and running into a stranger and suddenly finding out how much you actually have in common? I remember the first time I went into a pub in Oxford, England. It was the famous Eagle and Child pub where C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien used to go each week to knock back a pint. It was the closest pub to my dorm room, just right around the corner. Kind of cool. I remember going up to the bartender that first night and asking for a beverage. He answered back, and I said with a great deal of surprise, "You're an American." I totally didn't expect another American in that very British setting. "Where are you from?" he asked. "Missouri," I said. "Me too," he replied. "Where'd you go to college?" I asked. "William Jewell," he replied. "Me too." Small, small world. Through the years, I found that I can connect to people in a lot of different ways. When people find out that I was adopted as a child, I suddenly find myself hearing stories of their family adoptions. When people find out that at age 21 I was diagnosed with cancer, I hear their cancer stories. When people find out that I'm a lifelong Alabama fan, or if I'm wearing my sweatshirt down on Main Street in St. Charles, invariably I'll hear someone yell, "Roll Tide!" There are other things that I find seem to connect to. I'm a Cardinal fan, or I used to be a Baptist, or I went through a divorce, or I like woodworking and travel, or I have a wife who likes quilting, and I've been to way more quilting stores than I once knew even existed. Last week in our devotional, we looked at 1 Corinthians 9 to see how Paul married his freedoms with responsibility. Continuing on in verse 20, we find him saying, "To the Jews I became as a Jew in order to win Jews. To those under the law I became as one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so that I might win those who are under the law. To those outside the law I became one as one outside the law, though I am not free from God's law, but I am under Christ's law, so that I might win those outside the law. To the weak I became weak, so that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all people," Paul says, "that I might by all means save some. I do it," he says, "for the sake of the gospel, so that I may share in its blessings. I became all things to all people." I have an idea that this doesn't mean that we become something that we're not, or that our identities are fluid, because they're not. I don't think it means being a hypocrite. I do think it means that there are many sides to all of us, different facets, different experiences and histories and passions and preferences, and that God can use that complex combination, which is all of us, for the sake of all. And it leads me to ask, what parts of you will God use today? Don't worry if you don't have an answer, and I'd be surprised if you could. But don't you be surprised that God will use a part of us for the sake of someone else. Wait for it. expected.